That's recording.
Yeah, it's recording again.
That's
We can turn on our website later.
Yeah, he set up and he's like,
You know he never stopped.
You don't push you out of here.
I went to the front. Yeah. Well, she's here from Area Management. We're waiting on the rep from Suncoast Credit Union.
And do you want to talk on the panel too?
Me?
That's all.
No,
Sit there on one, yeah.
About how you.
He loves the camera.
I do not. They don't. They want to hear from me. I'm not hiring. Y'all might be hiring, so they want to hear from you.
That's true.
Okay. Kim, can you close the door? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edson O'Neill. I am the Student Employment JLD Coordinator at the Center for Career and Professional Development. My role there is to help students navigate how to find jobs on campus and work with employers that are looking to recruit for part-time jobs. And I am on the Industry to Campus Connection team, in which we bring employers to campus to help recruit students. We have our career development team that does career coaching. We have experiential learning team and different things of that nature. And I think our Suncoast Credit Union team is here. You see all the people just professional. You just saw professional and all that stuff. They're like, I'm ready to go.
We gotta get more chairs.
It looks like it.
At least you're not getting interrogated.
Yeah, I was kind of scared of it.
Fantastic.
So.
I can actually left. Okay, he's got it. Okay, so.
Okay.
Students, yeah, okay. You
Oh,
can
okay,
turn
for
it here.
council.
I don't believe that.
Traffic is horrible. I'm sorry. I got lost in your guys' parking lot. I was like, what I struggled with.
Even when you leave early, you're late.
Right,
This is Florida.
right,
Yeah.
right. So as y'all see, everyone in the real world and different things, you never know when things are happening. So it's important to be adaptable, right? So, I will talk a little bit about that from our panelists. So I'd like to welcome our esteemed panelists. We have Ms. Sharif from the Suncoast Credit Union. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. And then we got our Mrs. Celia from Highland Management. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. They were very gracious to take their time to come to campus to meet with our students and speak to you all about their career journeys and where they are and different things of that nature. So I definitely appreciate you all coming by to speak to our amazing USF students. And they can bring a lot of, good things to, the world. So I appreciate y'all coming out. So with that being said, I think we should go ahead and get started with the panel. I have some questions. I got some questions for y'all. I'm going to be grinding you all a little bit, so hopefully y'all are ready. We'll start off pretty easy at first. So the first question I want to ask y'all is, can you share your personal career journey and what led to your current role with your company?
Yeah, I can. So I'm from Iowa. You guys, it's in the Midwest. Sometimes people are like, where is Iowa? So I went to Iowa State. Kind of reminds me a little bit of this campus. Iowa State has about 40,000 students, so it's a big campus, like here. Originally I went to school for apparel merchandising, which is like fashion marketing. That's kind of what I was going for originally. And what I graduated with. I went to college when COVID happened, my sophomore year of school. It was really weird to kind of all of a sudden go onto like online campus from, in person. Now after college, it was still, kind of during COVID's time. So it was kind of a weird time to be on the job market for the first time. So I did like kind of a lot of different jobs that didn't really relate to my career. And I ended up like moving back home and I was like, this is just not really the job market I want to work in. My long term, I didn't want to live in Iowa for the rest of my life. It's really cold over there. So I moved to Tampa. And when I was applying for jobs down here in Tampa, what I originally wanted to do was kind of get into the sales industry. Originally, why I wanted to develop my sales skill set is that I know if you can get good at sales, and really just what that is just talking to people, that you can take that into any industry across like any business. And if I wanted to go back into school and specialize in something later, or just like I said, take that sales experience and kind of transfer it into something else, I wanted to really like transferable skill. So that's what I was looking for originally. And now I've been at Highland for about 3 years. So I've developed a lot within my role. One of the managers, I manage a program at Highland, and I actually just recently got a promotion to manage AI implementation across different companies across the country. Clients like Verizon, AT&T to interact, and integrate AI within kind of sales reps across the country. So for me, it was a lot of like kind of internal just kind of advancing within the company and taking on any opportunity that I possibly can. And a lot of like hands-on learning is what, Highland was able to really provide for me. Because like I said, originally, I just wanted to build up this skill set and be able to kind of transfer that into anything. And that's kind of what I did.
And then my name is Sherelle. I'm from Suncoast. So I've been with Suncoast. I started in February, actually. So to start, I have 7 years of HR experience. So I've been in recruiting for 7 years. Absolutely love recruiting. So I love the option. For me, I like being the middle person between opportunity and an individual. Have you guys ever got a new job and it was like maybe not a dream job yet, but the experience you have when you either really needed money, you needed this opportunity, and that person was just really great with you. So I like being that person. So I absolutely love recruiting, love people. So I went to Southeastern University in Lakeland. I graduated many, many years ago. I'm a little bit older than I look, I will say that. So I've been out of college for a while. So that's when I actually started in sales. And personally, I didn't like sales because, if you don't want it, you don't want it. But sales is total opposite. Sales is you're going to take it.
Yeah.
So
I think recruiting's kind of like sales.
It is. And that's kind of how I transitioned into recruiting. So my first recruiting position, they saw that. They're like, oh, you used to do this position? I know you love recruiting. And I actually love it because I'm giving an opportunity to an individual. And to me, it connects something that I'm good at with something that I've learned prior. So been in HR for a while. So I started with Suncoast in February. I kind of have a 2-part role. So my official title is campus recruiter. It is the first time Suncoast has ever had this role. The 2 parts is so I facilitate new employee onboarding. So anytime anybody starts with Suncoast, they're in my training class. So I get to connect with people from all the way from, if anybody doesn't know who we are, we're a credit union. We are statewide. So I get to connect with everybody, but they live in the state of Florida. If they don't, all the way to VPs, directors, all the way to anybody who works in our branches. So like I said, I really enjoy working with people. The other part of my role is I travel to colleges and universities connecting with students. And then we also have internship programs. So I oversee all of our internships, whether it's internal. So we may have some employees who they've been working with Suncoast for years, and maybe they're interested in a different department. So my goal is we'd rather you stay with Suncoast versus leaving. So maybe you start in a branch, but maybe you want to work in our accounting department. Maybe you want to work in our intelligent automation department. Maybe you want to work in our marketing department. And so what we do is we have the internal internship so that our employees can still stay with us, but see if they're interested in those other departments. And then we have our external internships, which is for our high school and college students, which we just had a couple months ago, and then in August, last month. So we do our 10-week internships. And so I oversee that as well. And my goal is to make sure that you enjoy your internship as well as you get to see if you really like what you're studying. Because in full transparency, what you're studying, it may not be what you want for your career, just like she mentioned prior. I study international business. My goal was to be in marketing. And honestly, my dream was to work for Nike and make commercials. And I work in recruiting now. And I love my job. And so that's the beautiful part about internships is that you get to see if you really like something. even if you're studying it, which is totally fine. And the great part about education, and it can always take you to your next step. So that's what I feel at Fenkus.
All right, awesome, awesome. Thank you for sharing your career journey and how you got to the roles you're in today. So I hope from what you heard is that you heard they had different stories, right? Different journeys. And you heard about how they kind of had one path going one way and things kind of changed, right? So as you all are trying to really navigate your career journey, understand what you might have planned may not go the way you might like it, but be having that adaptability and that flexibility to kind of really move forward with that because you never really know what's going to come your way, right? So thank you for sharing that, which will lead to the next question. So you talked about your career journey, and I could tell you I was like looking back and reminiscing. I'm like, man, like I went to school kind of ions and go, or I was in COVID, so it kind of brought up some memories, right? So now that you're all looking back, were there any like key decisions or turning points that really helped shaped your career path? Any crazy decision where there's like a turning point where it's just like, like this is it.
Great question. You want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I'll make you keep going. So number one, I'd say, so I think the biggest thing for me was like moving out of state for me and moving away from my comfort zone. So whether you've already done that by moving to Tampa, that already might be part of your journey. But I have never visited Tampa. I've gone to Florida a lot before, before I came here, but I never visited Tampa. So I just moved, I packed up my car and I had a apartment situation lined up and a job lined up, and I just hoped for the best. And obviously like it worked out for me. But my biggest advice is just getting yourself out of your comfort zone and taking like a step. If you've always wanted to visit a certain place or you've always wanted to like move to a certain place and kind of getting, even if it's adjacent of the industry you want to work in, taking kind of those entry level jobs and getting out of your comfort zone, I think would be like my biggest thing for me was moving to Tampa, and the amount of opportunities, the travel opportunities I've had, my advancement in the industry all came from me just stepping out of my comfort zone initially and kind of leaving behind friends and family and starting off in a brand new city and then building from scratch from there.
I think my turning point, so I am from Tampa, born and raised. I've lived here my entire life, except when I went to college about an hour away. My turning point would be working the sucky jobs. A lot of times, especially for me when I graduated college, I thought I was going to have this 6-figure income, office with the floor to ceiling windows. I am a big dreamer. I expected that when I first graduated. And so for me, a humbling experience was taking those sucky jobs. So the entry level roles, because those roles helped me build to where I am now. So I think sometimes too, I remember I would call my dad. I'm like, I hate this job. I hate this job. And he would just say, keep working at it. Maybe one day you may be the boss. And now I manage and I lead. And so I do think for me, it was just realizing that, yes, as a senior, you're at the top. But once you get into the professional world, you're going back to the bottom. But you work your way up and you can progress in one day. And it doesn't have to be the 20, 30-year time frames. Times have changed. There are VPs who are in their early 30s. You can have success within a 2 to 3 years time span, but just understanding that those jobs that may not be the ones that are wanted by most people can actually be the roles that you succeed in, and you may be the best. So that worked for me.
Thank you for sharing those amazing turning points. You never know when a situation or an event can really, it's like a light bulb, right? It's like, oh man, like I see it now, or like this is kind of what I want to do. So thank you for sharing. So I know I have questions, you all, but if any of y'all do have questions, feel free to comment. I wanted to make this as conversational and intimate as possible. So that feel free if you have a question. I do hear we have a question in the chat.
Yes, so Elizabeth is asking, do you have any tips or strategies for landing your first entry level position?
Good question.
Yeah, great question.
Mm-hmm. Have a great resume. For one, do a lot of research on what the resume, whatever role you're looking for, make your resume specific to that role. So a lot of times we have like the general resumes and nobody wants 20 different resumes. I'll be honest, we hate it. But if you're serious about the role that you're looking for, make it specific to that job. So if you're looking for finance jobs, you need to have a finance resume. So number one, resume. Secondly, you guys are in college. Nobody expects for you to have 5, 10, 20 years of experience. In that case, you would have started working when you were infants, and that's not realistic. So just please have projects. The projects that you're doing in college, the projects that you're doing in your classes, add those to your resume. Anytime you're learning any technical skill, add that to your resume. And so a lot of times, young professionals get overlooked because you have the skills, you're just not advertising those skills. And so sometimes you can have a person who is just as gifted as you are, the same level of same skill set, absolutely the same exact person as you on paper, but they advertise themselves better than you did. And so they got the job. So look at your resumes, or please, I emphasize on the resumes. We spend a couple seconds looking at them. That is the first way that's our first introduction to who you are, and it should be the best parts of you. So I would say focus on the resume.
Yeah, and for me, it would be like interview prep. On the like focusing on your resume is huge, but I've done a lot of recruiting, a lot of interviewing as well. I do a lot of first round interviews, so a lot of kind of preliminary, just like basic level interviews for Highland. And the biggest thing that like makes me like kind of this stand out, especially if you don't have a lot of like experience on your resume. Like she was saying, we don't expect you to have 20 years, but are the people that are part of the research. Sometimes it's small things like looking at the website, who like looked at the social media. Like when people like look at, social media and they're like, oh, it's really cool you guys do this XYZ as a team. I really like the office culture, part of your company. That's what made me, excited, besides the fact it's, something I'm interested in. Or looking at the website, can you talk about like, oh, you know what, these are your core values of your company. This is kind of what this aligns with for me too. You won't believe how much that just sets you apart from 20, 30 other candidates that we sat down with for the day. It's something super simple too, that's like within your control. That you're like, okay, you know what, this is something super small, but like do the research about the company. And like, even if you're like, have like an Excel sheet of all the, everyone's mass applying to companies for the most part, right? Or you should be at least putting in your application to a lot of places. So you have more chances at interviewing. And to that point too, sometimes it's good to just get like practice like with the interviewing side too. It doesn't need to be your dream role. Maybe it's something that you don't necessarily even want to take the role too. But if you're like only have done one interview, you gotta like hope that was the best interview of your life. But if you sat down with like 20 different interviews, A, you're not going to be as nervous. And then B, you're going to be able to like kind of predict some of the like, questions that they ask, like kind of classic interview questions. If you have a little bit more like polished, answers about stuff.
To add to that, you can also look up your interviewer on LinkedIn. That's another good note. I love when I interview people and they're like, oh, I saw you worked here, or you have experience here. I'm like, oh, you studied me? So that's also impressive too. And there's little ways that you can kind of, because a lot of times interviewers, we are taught to be a little bit more stoic so that you can't tell if you're doing well or not. But people love to talk about themselves. So research your interviewer as well. So when you confirm the interview, LinkedIn, let them see, oh, this person viewed your profile. I'm like, okay, and now I know what to expect. They know who I am. They know a little bit more about me, things like that. It helps.
Thank you for sharing those little nuggets. I hope y'all taking a lot of this in as you're preparing and work on your resume and different things. Ivan, I heard that at the Career Center, Center for Career Development, they can support students in helping them with their resume, correct?
Well, that is true. Yeah, so we have a career development team ready to go. We have career peers and people that look just like you, they're students just like you that we've trained, and that you can come in on a daily basis, get your resume reviewed, and they will go through your resume and they do great things. A great tip about customizing your resume for the position that you're applying to. Everybody does it. It's the ones that don't do it are the ones that come into our office and say, I've put 50 applications in and I haven't gotten any calls yet. It's usually because they're not customizing their resume to the key words and phrases that they're looking for on the job description or specific to that job. So yeah, the great tips you're getting so far. But we have a great career development team in our office. You can do walk-ins, you can do appointments. We have career coaches as well. They're seasoned professionals, and this is what they do on a daily basis. They meet one-on-one with students to talk about interview preparation, resume reviews, all kinds of stuff. LinkedIn pages, we go over that as well. That's a great way to get in with employers.
Shameless plug. I don't know how to do that shameless plug. And also, Alexa, isn't there an event tomorrow that's gonna give students tips on preparing for the career fair that's coming up?
Yes, there is actually a big event happening tomorrow with employers on site. So if you're interested, I definitely would come. It's a career fair kickoff. So there's going to be multiple stations, not just prepping you for resume review, but also interview tips. Also Suitable will be running if you need business attire as well. So a bunch of great resources to come check out tomorrow.
Different plug. And Sharon, you're gonna be here tomorrow, right?
Yes, I was here yesterday too for the resume clinic.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm here a lot.
You're doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of what we just discussed is going to lead into the next question about as far as talking about how to kind of leverage your first job. So when it comes to kind of gain that experience and the exposure, how can students leverage internships, part-time jobs, or leadership roles on campus to explore different career opportunities?
So I'll start this one.
Yeah, you go.
So that's like I said before, that's my job at Suncoast is to oversee internships. I strongly encourage them. I know for a lot of degree programs now, they're not required, which is technically another reason why you should do it because it's not required. So there's no pressure there's no pressure for requirements when it comes to education wise. But I think internships are amazing because like I said before, you can see, do I really like this field? Do I like this company? Secondly, most internships nowadays are not grab coffee, get water. No, you're involved. You're part of our teams.
That was me when I interned.
Yeah, and it used to be like that, where literally you're just sitting in the meetings in the back of the room. You're just, hey, we need this, we need that. But no, you're a part of the team. We treat you like an employee. And so that's, I think, is really important. Also, too, with the internship, whether you stay with the company or not, you have professional experience now. So whether you're there for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 3 months, you can now say, I have professional experience working in this department. And that's how you have to sell yourself when you are interviewing, is that I have this experience. And a lot of times when I speak with college students, they forget that that is considered professional experience. You put the time, the hours in it, the commitment, you were paid for it. Hopefully you were paid for it. I don't necessarily encourage, free internships, but do whatever works for you. But yeah, you put the time for it. Please, please, please advertise that. Sell yourself. You have experience doing that. So I definitely am of supportive internships. Part of my experience in college, I did an internship and it helped me to get to where I needed to go. And it made me realize I hated it. And it is okay. And that's why you need internships so that you can realize, okay, I like this or I don't like this. And that's a beautiful part because there's no long-term commitment. So yeah, pro internships.
All right.
Absolutely. And to that point, hopefully I won't get in too much trouble for saying this, but I think that that's one of the most valuable parts of college. There's a lot of obviously go to class and the classes are important, but I think that having things like a career center where you can prep on interviews, where they go over your resume, take full advantage of that. And I can say I honestly didn't take as much of advantage as I should have with that. And then I had to do a lot of research or maybe maybe I was passed up for other opportunities and get other, jobs because my resume maybe wasn't the best. I don't know. I'm happy with where I am now, but my biggest advice would be take every internship. And if you can, if you have this situation where you could do an unpaid internship, even if it's that, to be in the room and even just hear how the people that are more successful than you think, or how they talk and how they act, what they do. There's so much value in that. So I think that everything, even in between classes, is part of the real value of college and really making sure that you're taking full advantage of that. I do as many internships as you possibly can. Just take as much advantage as she was saying, see okay, do I like doing this? No, I absolutely hated that. Maybe you're going to shift something with your degree, maybe not. But you're able to really say, okay, I really like this aspect of that. I really like this aspect of that. So even if you start off in an entry level role, and you're I really know that I like the recruiting side of things. Maybe that's not your entry level position you started in, but when you're in a company, if that's a role that becomes available, you already have an in with that company, as well as when you have when you do a lot of internships and you build up those relationships with people. I'm the biggest believer of networking ever, and the power of networking and the power of making a good impression. where if you have a good relationship with a company that you do an internship with, you have no idea what kind of doors that can open up for you and can open up for careers that aren't even in that, in that company going forward. So I think that that's another really big aspect of if you do internships, make sure that you're making really, really good impressions and building up really good relationships with those managers, hiring managers, basically anyone you can, because you don't know how that's going to benefit you down the road.
And challenge your employer. A lot of times interns will come in and they'll allow the employer to give them busy work. Challenge your employer because that is your internship. That is your time that you're dedicating to learning and committing to your future. So if they have you getting the coffee, the snacks, challenge them. What work can I do? What can you teach me? I'm spending time here. I'm invested in my future. This is the skill set I want to learn. You've been in this position for a certain amount of time. What have you learned? How did you get this role? Challenge your employers too. They like that. They like knowing that you're eager to learn more. That also too will help you get a long-term position.
And to piggyback off that too, is be aggressive about asking about one-on-ones. Can we get coffee, go to dinner, or something like that, where you can, like my internship's done in 2 weeks, but I really enjoyed my, time with you within your company. I want to ask you more questions, get to know you a little bit better. Because a lot of it's like unrequired time spent sometimes in, the professional world is where you build up a lot of those relationships, with people as well.
Awesome. To your point about challenging employers, so when I did my internship, I interned for the Lightning. Way back in the day, way back. And when I interned with them, they just had me doing mailers every day. I didn't learn, they didn't have me really do anything. So I asked them, hey, can I do events? Hey, can I get on the phones? Hey, can I speak to clients? Hey, can I do this? And they were like, sure, but I had to ask, right? So I want them to see the initiative that I wanted to take to learn more about the business and the job. So it goes a long way. So make sure that you challenge your employers. Like it goes a long way. And to your point about networking, which leads to our next question. I think networking is key, right? So I want to talk about that and unpack that a little bit more. So for our students in the room or online are kind of wondering, how to network. Can y'all unpack and talk about more the importance of networking? What are some practical ways students can build those meaningful connections?
Events like these. A lot of employers attend events like these. We want to, I reached out to Edson to have an opportunity to come here.
She was like, yo, I'm ready.
And literally every week I'm at a different school, different university. So there are employers who are eager to connect with you all. So attending events like these, I know they're after hours. Some are during hours. We're sacrificing out of our personal time as well. We're eager. We want to connect with students. So attending events like these, I actually did attend career events when I was in college, and it did help me get my internship. So I did get success because I was the person going to every single job fair, every resume clinic, things on campus, off campus, any type of networking event. I was the one telling all of my friends, everybody put on your suits, let's go, we're going, helping them with their resumes. I was that person where I was the leader of, we are not here, we're paying lots of money to be here. I went to a private institution. So I'll let you guys, let your mind run with that. So for me, I'm like, if we're paying money to be here, we need to leave with something. And I felt like if you're my friend, you're going to succeed too. And I'm just that person. So I went to all of those events and I was able to get an internship. So it did work out for me. I was also able to get a study abroad opportunity because of going to events like these. So I strongly say, come to the events. You don't have to stay for hours and hours, but meet someone, connect with someone. There's a student who was a part of our internship this year. He interned when he was in high school. He reached out and said, hey, I would like to come back. We didn't even interview him. We're like, okay, cool, you have the job. He reached out, networking, connecting. I have a lot of students that reach out to me about our internship. So when we open up and post about it again, I know who to follow up with. So networking, and it's as simple as, hello, I attended this event, you spoke. You can even butter me up and say, I enjoyed what you said. Like that.
You're the best.
I'm the best. I love compliments. You can butter me up. It's okay. Stuff like that. And then I always say, send me a LinkedIn email. That's it. And then that way, when I'm reviewing, I can, okay, I remember this person reached out to me, things like that. So connecting is simple, it's easy. It can literally be a 5-minute conversation with somebody that you connected with, maybe the dream company you want to work for. Just show up. And that's, to me, I think is the best way to network. And then from there, opportunities will flow. And even if you don't get a job, you created a bridge to your next connection. You created a bridge because maybe one day we may not have the role that you're looking for at Suncoast, but maybe if I have a contact with someone at another organization and I can say, oh, I met with this person, I think she would be a great candidate or he would be a great candidate. So connections, and employers connect with other employers. So just show up. That's my advice.
Yeah, I definitely piggyback off of that. I think like events like these are great. I think that the, attendance here, thanks you guys for, coming and listening to us talk. But I think that, yeah, for coming. I think that that's something that's like huge. Just showing up. Like you're not ever gonna get in front of the right people if you don't like get in front of them, right? So that's number one. At any point, like my suggestion with networking, if any point you can make like some sort of like personal connection, like if you're from the same region in the country as that person, if you like the same sports teams, if you can make say something that kind of sets you apart from the other, I mean, obviously this is a small event, but let's say it's a career fair, right? That's not always something you can do, but if you can make some sort of like personal connection, that's always going to get you like a little bit of a foot inside the door, just because they'll be like, oh, that girl that was from Iowa, if they're from Iowa too. I love other Iowans. So that's like one thing that's huge. But when it comes to like professional likability, it boils down to two things, and it's competence and warmth. So what that kind of means is like being friendly, right? That you're really like friendly, you're excited to talk to the person that's in front of you. And then you can show some level of like confidence by asking good questions. If you have your resume, that your resume is polished. Because to her point as well is like you don't know who knows who. Maybe you don't want to work for their company, or that's like not the internship that's like your dream company you'd want to work for in long term. But if they're like, this person was the best intern, they were super friendly, always, ask great questions, built a really good relationship with them. My friend owns a company that does X, Y, and Z that's more in the like field that you're interested in. So people tend to open a lot of doors for people that they like and that they've built a relationship with. So that would be my biggest suggestions with that.
I'm singing some big. Good advice, amazing advice. I hope y'all are taking these nuggets down and really hearing what they're saying to give you some good information here. So thank you all for that. So as we are kind of like moving forward, as far as talking about building a network and building those meaningful connections, right? From my time, as a student working in higher ed and just working with our students here, sometimes they may not have an idea on what they want to do, right? So, they might, I'm doing this major, but, I don't really know what I really want to do, or, like, I don't really know what I want. So are y'all feeling that way? Is that something y'all kind of like, yeah, so definitely all the heads are nodding. So what advice would you give our students who may not know exactly what they want to do yet, but they want to keep their options open?
I think she has a question too.
Yeah, I was just going to that. How do you do it whenever, if you were, professional experience is not in business or in marketing? Let's say for my part, I'm coming from healthcare, or I'm doing an MBA. What's your advice for someone that's applying to a job that's not, if you're not coming from the same background of sales or business?
There's some skill from every industry that can transfer to another industry. You just have to highlight those skills. And then secondly, look for technical skills while you're here. So certifications, anything that you're learning here, that's a technical skill, add that to your resume. Because your goal is to get that interview and then tell them, hey, I do have professional experience, but I'm navigating to a new career. And employers do not have a problem with that at all. You were a professional in a different field. That's still experience. So just highlight any technical skills that you think that, one skill that can transfer over to each industry. Secondly, any technical skills you're learning while you're here. And then if you have time to maybe you take a quick certification for this or that outside of school, that helps too. It is a lot of intentionality, but it's possible. There are a lot of people who switch careers. Because by the way, you do not have to be in the same career for the rest of your life. So it is completely normal to switch things up. It is okay. It happens a lot. I interview a lot of people where they were in teachers for 20 years and now they're interested in working in one of our branches. And it's completely okay to switch and transition, but just focus on transferable skills. So if they ask you any questions, oh, I might not did it in this, but I did do it in this industry. And you will shine. Mhm.
I think that's great. I also have a slightly different point to that as well, is my suggestion, start off in an entry level role with a company that has room for growth. I'm a big believer in starting off in, entry level if you don't have the like skill sets or the industry experience behind the company. But making sure that in your interview process, asking about the growth opportunities, what that looks like, what their, how long does it take someone to grow or get promoted within, a company? What is the average promotion time? And if it's something that is, under a year's time that you're able to like move into a next level or get into, any sort of leadership position, I think that that's something that's super valuable as well. As well as I know that there's a lot of, I don't know if you guys do it or if you guys do it around here, but like shadow days for different industries or kind of shadowing different industries. I know for sure if you guys want to, come to Highland, I'll make an open invitation. Email me.
Sure.
Yeah. But like to shadow what people do in a day, right? So like you think, like, or at least I think in college, I'd say I wanted to work in this industry for, sometimes kind of like reasons where you're like, it looked cool on TV shows or like, my friend's, dad does this and he looks like he has a good life. So, but like, what are you actually going to do? Like, what's your job flexibility like? What's the career opportunities? And actually seeing someone in the industry and kind of shadowing them for a day. I don't know if you guys do that or if I'm just making that up, but I think that that's
If we
great.
don't, we can't start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that can be great because I don't see why not. Just shadow it for, a couple of days. If you're like, this is great, this is what I want to do. Maybe you want to start off a role in that company after graduation. Or if you're like, this actually showed me that I have no interest in that, then you're able to pivot with that as well.
Awesome. That was a great question to ask, which leads into Savito. Some areas I want to talk about overcoming different challenges or pivoting from one career or like you're doing something or you're in this field, but you want to transition into this or look into that. So I want to ask y'all, what major challenges have you faced in your career? And how did you overcome those challenges?
Challenges in general.
In general, it could be specifically to, the job or however you want to phrase, however you would like to answer this question. I basically want to give perspective to students as far as when they're overcoming different challenges, how to have the resiliency to really push forward and to really continue staying the course because everything's not going to be easy, so what helped you develop resiliency to overcome a major challenge within your careers and what helped you to overcome those challenges to help you to kind of move forward, be in a better position, give you maybe a better perspective, maybe a different mindset, maybe challenge you to really think in a way you never thought you would have think things before. I know I just threw a lot at you, I'm sorry, but kind of share a story about overcoming a challenge.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I don't have like a specific like thing but just in general, like my approach for challenges and anything that I've kind of dealt with within my career. Two things: mentorship, making sure that you have a good mentor, right? Someone that can kind of show you the light at the end of the tunnel. Because it's hard, like if you're in it, it's hard to like see that there's like a light at, the end of any situation where you're like, how is this going to turn into a positive, right? So do you have a good mentor that can talk you through the situation, and like an industry mentor, I guess I mean specifically, where they're like, oh, I dealt with this, when I was in the spot that you're in, and I dealt with it X, Y, and Z way. You should try this, try that. So having a good mentorship, someone that you can kind of lean on, for help within a situation. And then my other biggest suggestion is like continued self-development. So you guys are in college right now, so you guys have a lot of continual development that's like structured for you. But also when you're out of college, right? Are you usually like a lot of your problems are kind of created by you for you, is what I like kind of say. So you're able to, like how much are you like helping yourself, right? If your issue is team related, team building, you're struggling to, you're struggling in a leadership position. There's probably like 30,000 books on leadership. Are you picking up one of them and reading them and seeing, okay, this is how someone so much better than me, maybe isn't one of your mentors, but someone so much better at something than I am, how they are able to like handle a situation. So I think like self-development, making sure that you guys are continually self-educating, and developing yourselves, even when it's not real required reading.
I'm kind of on the other end with a response. So for me, in my professional experience, I've dealt with ageism bias. Does anybody know what that is? If you don't, pretty much people didn't fully respect me because I was the youngest in the room. And the reality is, a lot of you guys might be the youngest when you walk into the professional field, into your industries. So I dealt with that for a very long time. In some ways, I still do deal with it, but thankfully at Suncoast, I do not. But that's something that I really struggled with in my professional career. And a lot of times there will be comments like, oh, my daughter's older than you, or you're the age of my granddaughter, or things like that. Or you can't do this, you're this, and you're that. So I am a millennial. And then obviously most of you guys are Gen Z. And so a lot of times there's already that prejudgment of who they think you are, how they think you handle business. They already have judgments of everything. There's so many, even on social media, they have all these judgments of Gen Zs and you're this and you're that. And so that can be a potential, I don't want that to be an issue for you all, but that could be a potential thing that people will judge you based off your age. And so for me, how I overcame is that I always showed up. So one thing for sure, I wasn't a person who felt like I always had to verbally defend myself. I'm more of a person, I'll show you the reason why I got this job. I'll show you why I'm the best. And I'm a competitive person within myself. So I like challenges. So if you think I don't deserve the role because I'm younger, or maybe your colleague got overlooked and I got the promotion or things like that, because maybe I may not have as much of experience. So they think, because people don't fully know how, your coworkers never know how experienced you are, by the way, only your manager, because they hired you. But for me, I always showed up and I will prove that I'm the best. And I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing it for myself. And so that's something that I experienced in my career over the years. And thankfully, I'm at an organization now where people respect you based off your skills and for who you are. So I haven't had to deal with that at Suncoast, which I'm very grateful for. But that was one of the biggest struggles for me, is always being overlooked because of my youth and my age. And so I speak with a lot of interns and a lot of students who say, how do I do this? How do I walk into this space when everybody's older than me? And then now you guys are in college where it's professor and doctor, and then you go into the professional field and you're calling somebody who's 3 years your age by their first name. And so there's a change, there's a shift that you guys deserve to be where you are. And so for me, it was self-confidence. Like, I deserve to be here. I worked hard. I killed my interview. I did what I had to do in college. I was very intentional. And so just owning your space. And I had a mentor, like she said, who taught me to own your space. You deserve to be there. You did it. You succeeded. And if you are the same age as their daughter or granddaughter, their daughter or granddaughter is not in that role, you are. So just owning it. And so that's, for me, was one of my personal struggles that that overcame.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable and being open to, audience. I really appreciate that from you all. The key thing I heard from both of y'all was mentorship, right? Mentorship. So I think when it comes to mentorship, sometimes people are like, do I find a mentor? Does a mentor find me? Do I just go up and say, hi, do you want to be my mentor? Like there's always this, like, how do I get that mentor? So can y'all share, like, how did you develop your relationship with your mentors? How did that come about? And what are some strategies you want to share with our students as far as how can they find a mentor, or how can they become mentors to, anyone else?
Mine came to me, and I know that's not everybody's story. But when I was working for this one organization, and she just said I stood out to her, and she was the DEI director at the organization I was working for. And she, to me, I'd already put her on a pedestal because she was just so successful. She was amazing. She was great with public speaking. Any room she walked in, she owned. So I'd already had a lot of respect for her. And she just came up to me and asked me if she could be my mentor. And I know that doesn't always happen that way because I felt the same way. I had never had a mentor before her. So I went through college, a couple of years of professionally working, had never had a mentor. So it's harder because I understand because some people will come to you, some people won't. And then even too, if you do ask certain people, you're not guaranteed that they will say yes. Because being a mentor means that they have to take time away from their lives to invest into you. So I would say, let it happen organically. So with the conversation we're talking about with networking and just seeing if this person is somebody you want to get to know. And if you notice that they want to get to know you, I think are great signs. But it's true. It's a hardship of, do I walk up to a random person and say, do you want to connect? Is it appropriate? And things like that. So it's definitely a hardship, but and mine came to me, but I know it doesn't always happen that way for people.
For me, I think there's like a couple of different ways you can find a mentor, because it definitely, I think it is sometimes a little weird to be like, can you mentor me? Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be like, you're not asking them on a first date or anything. I think that sometimes it's just like your upline in a business, right? Your manager, your supervisor, maybe the, owner of the company, or, one of the high level employees. And so sometimes it's just like your natural like upline. It's like who you kind of take, if you're like, they do, obviously if you feel like they do a fantastic job during the interview process, you're like, this is, they run a company that's like something that I want to work with, or, work with them. So that's kind of like a natural mentor that's in place. On the other side of things, I think that like, sometimes it's people in the industries that you'll work at, like different conferences you meet, within the industries, the people that are like most similar to you. So for example, the CEO of Highland is the guy named Desmond McNellis. I don't have a lot in common with Desi. He's about like he did like lab work before he started in the industry, and before he was working with Highland and stuff. I just didn't have a lot in common with him. So one thing that was really important to me is I really wanted to connect with like a woman in business who, like, obviously I'm a woman in business, so I had a lot in common with them, and someone I could like directly look up to. That was someone that I was aspiring to be. So sometimes it can be your direct upline in a company, or like the person that you kind of take instructions from, your manager. And then it also can be like someone that you're like, I just feel like they're really like inspirational, and 5 years down the line in my career, like I'm trying to be like this person, and just asking them questions. And sometimes it's just like in the beginning, it's just building up a relationship with someone, and it doesn't always have to be like, do you want to be my mentor? But just asking them, questions about themselves and building up that relationship, so you do feel comfortable to call them on the phone and ask them about certain situations in your career, that you've built up enough of a relationship with them where they want to take the time out of their day or out of their week to talk to you.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I do have a couple more questions, but I know we're getting close to the conclusion of our event, and I want to give you all the opportunity to ask questions if y'all have them. So do you all have any questions for our panelists? Oh, there it goes, right?
Yeah. My name is Avery, and I'm looking for internship opportunities in finance. So I want to ask, what qualities does your organization value most in finance intern?
Oof.
Yeah, no, great question. Back to what I was saying before, projects. So one thing that we absolutely love is knowing that you work with other people, that you were intentional with your projects while you were in school. Because remember, we don't expect you to have years of experience, but showing different finance skills that you've learned while you've been here. So even if you're in a finance club, maybe you did events, or maybe you were able to be a part of certain organizations where you all traveled and advocated for a different organization in finance, just things like that, just things showing that you studying finance is more than just a major. So focus on things like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then talk to me afterwards. We have finance internships.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
All right.
For the mentorship part, do you guys like make it a point to like keep work and personal separate in administration? Because you gotta get to know the person or know them do things for you. So if so, you do keep it separate. How do you manage that? Because you lose kind of like get a chance being friends with them, being at work all day with them.
That's a great question. I think that,
I thought USF students, they bring it, they go through.
no, they do. I think lines can get blurred sometimes. That's why I do think that, it is good to set expectations up front. Because even while working with someone, even having colleagues, even with coworkers and people you work with, a lot of times you can share personal information. But I do believe in, the separation of the two. So yes, you may know the Facebook side of things, but you're not gonna know very private moments. And I think a lot of times I've seen it before in mentorships where lines get blurred. So I would avoid it, but while you're getting to know that person, you can also feel for what is appropriate and what's not. Usually if it's a mentor, they're directing the relationship. So you can also notice too, but they may ask you about your personal life because a lot of times personal life impacts your professional life. So it's blurred, but you still have control. I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, I think like it's a good like there's kind of like a line of like what would you discuss with like your friend and then like what would you discuss with like your friend's parents is what I always kind of like to that's like the best description. Someone said that to me and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
so like you're like gonna like talk about stuff and there's a certain like friendliness, familiarity, but you're not talking to them about like your date like in dating life or like involved details about your dating life or what you did over the weekend. That's not something that's like appropriate, you know, for a workplace. But I do think that, you know, to have a good, you know, relationship with your mentors, there are certain things where like work, you know, work and your personal life blend sometimes and outside personal life things can sometimes affect your work and so I think that that's like the balance if that makes sense kind of like what would you talk about with your friend's parents it's probably not everything right but you still have a good relationship with they know you and they care about you as a person.
Personal, man.
There's a lot of career fairs coming here to USF. And when you first go up to a recruiter, did you guys have an elevator pitch or know what that term? Did you guys have that of your own? And if you didn't do that, what would you kind of say going to the recruiter?
Yeah, I had an elevator pitch that my career advisor had me print out. I had to study it. I literally read it probably 30 times that morning. And then when I actually got in front of the recruiters, I went blank. So I would say, yes, have the elevator pitch, but be yourself. There's a lot of times where, although we are talking about intentionality, but please be yourselves. There is a lot of pressure that comes naturally with being in college with careers, but showing who you are. So yes, I do believe in elevator pitches, but don't forget to be you. Because a lot of times it can come off robotic because I know, and I felt like for me, I remember what job fair I went to, the person was like, you know, you can relax, right? And literally it just like, because he could tell that I reread it 30 times, I practiced it and everything. So I do believe in them, but I'm kind of 50-50 on it. So yes, know how to introduce yourself, but at the same time, show who you are as a person. Because they're going to meet 100 robots that day.
Yeah.
So if you smile or make them laugh or you're a little bit more professional but relaxed, you'll stand out. And a lot of times we're like, I like that person. I like that guy. Oh, okay. She was kind of funny. I like we notice personality more than we notice robotics.
Yeah, and I'd say that I think an elevator, I'm personally not a big elevator pitch person too much. Like I think having you like practicing, kind of knowing what you're gonna say generally is great, but you know, like you were saying, kind of being a little bit more relaxed. Again, it goes back to research for me. Like if you're, you know, at a career fair, you should talk to a bunch of different, you know, booths or yeah, it's like kind of like boost. I was like, is that the right word? But you know, talk to a lot of people, right? But have the people that you're really there to go talk to, right? If you have like 3 to 5 companies where you're like, these are the people I have the most interest in. And then, you know, if you can build some sort of relationship where you're like if someone came up to me, right? And like, as like the kind of the recruiting side of my job, and they're like, I was looking at, you know, Highland's, you know, website, their Instagram. I saw that you guys did a big team event at X, Y, and Z, or saw that you guys did, all traveled and there's a travel opportunity. Do you guys do that a lot, you know, in your company? I'm looking for, you know, potential companies where I have the opportunity to travel, or one thing that's really important to me is having, you know, a really good workplace culture. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this guy, you know, did his research and he's kind of like a standout person that like kind of talked to me beyond just that like robot kind of elevator pitch. And then, you know, for me, like when I'm doing something, I'm like, okay, this guy was a standout candidate because he went above and beyond, with his research and he wanted to, work at that place for a specific reason. Obviously, you're not going to do that and research it with everyone, but if you have a couple where you're like, this is somewhere I'd really love an internship or I'd really love to work, and you want to separate yourself at those.
Awesome. We have time for one more question. Final question from the audience.
I know we don't have a lot of time, so you guys can like shorten it, but what's like one of the most important lessons you learned like throughout your career journey?
Good question.
Might be a hard one, sorry.
Y'all
No,
are
I
bringing,
like when people make me think.
y'all are bringing it today. I love it. Let them think.
I got mine.
Mhm.
So for me, it's always saying yes to opportunities. So like I love saying yes to new opportunities. If there's something that's like presented to me, and there's like, I don't know necessarily how it's gonna go, but I'm like, I can, take this opportunity. At the very minimum, I'm gonna build some sort of skill set from it. And that's, I think, one of the reasons like I've been able to, grow and advance so, so fast within my career is just saying yes to things. Cause like, what's the harm? Really, like if you don't like it, if it's moving into a different department, you can usually backtrack from most things, right? But you never know like where an opportunity is going to take you unless you take it. So I would say saying yes to opportunities that are presented to you.
I would say being open-minded. So, like I said, I study international business. I never knew that I would be in HR to this day. So for me, I think my biggest lesson is yes, have career goals, know what you want, but also be okay if you pivot a little bit. And I think that was the best lesson for me because I love what I do genuinely. I'm not just saying that to you guys. But I had no idea I would be in a role like this. So for me, it was being open-minded and saying yes because opportunities came to me that I'm like, I never considered this. And now I am a professional. So yeah, stay open-minded. Your dream job may not be what you're thinking of right now, or you're allowed to have more than one dream job. So yeah, just stay open-minded.
I got the last question of the evening. You all shared a lot today as far as your journey, overcoming challenges, mentoring, networking. You all touched a lot of different things that I believe will be very helpful for our students moving forward. But if there was one thing, just one thing you want our students here in person or online to leave with, there was just one thing that you wanted to be edge on their head, like whenever like there and they see it all the time, what would that be?
For me, I would say be confident. I speak with a lot of students who are like shy, nervous about professional field. Be confident. You worked hard to get to where you are now. You succeeded. Once you graduate, you are a college graduate. Once you finish your MBA, you have your master's. You guys work hard to be where you are. Be confident with any opportunity that comes your way. Be confident. Confidence will take you places that you never imagined. And so I agree with what she said about saying yes. Confidence will get you in those rooms with the opportunities to say yes. So be confident.
I 100% agree with that as well. For me, it's going to be network is your net worth, which is a little bit of a mouthful. But build up relationships, and I come from like the business world, right? So the business is like your net worth. Is your network is your net worth. Now I'm saying it like in a weird way, but building up relationships is number one. The most key thing you guys can do is really building up good relationships with people. When you're at career fairs, when you guys are doing your internships, just make sure that you guys are leaving good impressions and building up with relationships with people across like any opportunity that you ever do.
Awesome. Thank you. Y'all give a round of applause for our. This to everyone online, thank you. This concludes our industry panel. I imagine you all are gonna hang tight and speak to them if they have questions. All right, so if y'all have questions or wanna speak to them or anything of that nature, please feel free to. But this concludes our event. Thank you.
Guys. I know, when you're like, what? I'm like,
I was looking at your Hello.
I see so calm.
I think because I do it all the time.
I talk in front of people a lot.
Yeah.
So you guys get boosters or anything?
I really wasn't.
Have good meetings if you ever say anything and get yourself talking in front of people.
Beaches in front of like our beach, CCO.